welcome back to JJN.
Today, as you can probably see, we have a very intense weather situation, and while we're trying to kind of dry off the studio here, let's go to the Hall family with some breaking news about what's actually going on.
Hey, here we are, the first weekend of December, 19 days until Christmas. Hope you all had a wonderful Thanksgiving and took some time to thank God for all the blessings that He's given us. Our theme this month is about peace. And what a great way to end a crazy and stormy year.
We interrupt this program for a breaking news story.
This is Anna reporting from the Sea of Galilee. Unbelievably, behind me, there's astounding peace and quiet over the waters. This was not the case for most of last night. The winds have been blowing and the waves have been raging and crashing, then miraculously just stopped. Looks like a couple of boats that were caught in the middle of it came into shore. Here comes someone now. Let's see what they have witnessed. Excuse me, sir. Excuse me. Did you just come from the Sea of Galilee on one of those boats caught in the storm? Gotcha. Right. Well, do you mind sharing what it was like out there?
Well, I wouldn't believe it myself, but I was there, and I really want to tell someone, so here it goes. I and my fellow disciples were following our teacher on a boat to go to the other side of the lake.
Who's your teacher?
Jesus. Do you not know of him?
Ah, well, yes. I've been meaning to get an interview with him. Continue. What happened next?
Well, you see, we set sail, and our teacher fell asleep. Suddenly, out of nowhere, a windstorm came upon the lake. The waves were crashing upon us and filling our boat. The whole while, Jesus was just sleeping. We woke him up, because it was dangerous, saying, "Master, Master, we are perishing." When he awoke, he rebuked the winds and the raging waves.
Then what happened?
Well, oh, right. It just ceased. Like, calm.
Just to make sure I understand this, you're saying he basically told the storm to just stop, and it did?
Yeah.
How can this be explained?
Faith? Our teacher asked us, "Where is your faith?" I have to admit, we were afraid.
Well, how do you feel now?
Well, we were all marveling, that's for sure. Who is this? He commands the raging waves and the winds, and they obey him. We have so much to learn.
I think that we will be seeing a lot more of Jesus.
Do this.
And now, back to our program.
Wow, I will look forward to that. You know, you too can read that story in Luke 8, 22 to 25. You know, if we all follow Jesus, we allow him to do wonderful things, even in our own lives.
Exactly. This story is a good reminder that Jesus will give us peace, even in the midst of the storms in our lives.
You know, I couldn't help but notice that even when Jesus was asleep on the boat, he still had control of the situation.
Just like if it seems he's not there, he's actually right beside you the whole time. Don't worry. Be at peace.
Even though the disciples panicked for their lives when the storm arose, they showed what faith they had by asking Jesus for help.
Worrying just gets us nowhere, but praying does.
I'm sure the disciples were not lacking in their faith after Jesus got them through the storm.
As we experience Jesus' help in our own lives, our faith will grow as well.
Jesus will give us peace when dealing with any problems that come our way.
I pray that we all cling to Jesus and rest in the peace only he can give us.
Great.
Happy holidays!
Happy holidays!
Happy holidays!
Miss you
Merry
guys!
Christmas!
And a Merry Christmas! You just like, let me
Man,
Wow.
that was impressive. Well, thank you, Hall family, for clearing up that story for us.
And thank you, Jesus, for clearing up the weather.
You know, Josh, that makes me wonder, what kind of person was Jesus?
I don't know. Definitely a really cool person.
I agree.
I want a friend who'd clear up the weather for me. But these are all questions you need to talk about because, as you know, here on JJN, we don't just tell the news. We make you tell the news. So take a minute to pause the video and talk about what you just learned.
And now it's time for the
Fine Art
Report. Our first piece of artwork is from Trey, portraying an excellent scene of a car going into heaven. We assume that Jesus is the chauffeur and hope that you're carpooling with your buddies in that excellent looking car.
And here we have a turkey's eye view of a turkey on because of the perspective, we don't know if it's a unicycle, motorcycle, bicycle, tricycle, car. We don't know because it's just a straight thing. But he's riding something with wheels. And that's my interpretation of this artwork. I don't get paid enough for this. It's too complicated.
Our next piece of artwork is from Everett, portraying an excellent image of a semi-formal turkey, or as we like to call it here on JJN, a gangster turkey, or even further, gangsturkey. This has been the
Fine Art Report. And now, to hear more about our story and get a memory verse to Mrs. Wellsmore.
Good morning, HCC. I am Mrs. Wellsmore, and I am doing the memory verse today, which is in the book of Matthew, chapter 8, verses 26 and 27. Now, you've already heard from the Hall family. They did the story of Jesus calming the storm. And my memory verse is along the same lines, but I wanted to give you a little bit of background first before we get to the memory verse. And it starts with Jesus preaching to the people. He'd been preaching to the people all day long. He spent his time with people. 95% of his time was with people. And he was tired. Even Jesus gets tired. And so he wanted a little time off. So he and his disciples decided to get into a boat and go across the Sea of Galilee to the other side. Now, the Sea of Galilee is not really a sea, it's a lake. It's a very big lake. It's 7 miles wide, which is about the distance from Church up to, say, Albertsons and Battleground. Maybe a little bit longer than that. So that's 7 feet wide or 17 miles. I'm getting confused here. It's 7 miles wide, 15 miles long, and about 150 feet deep, which is really, really deep for a lake. And it was surrounded by mountains, and so it was kind of in a basin. The Sea of Galilee was in a basin surrounded by these mountains. And what that did is it was a perfect kind of environment for storms to come up on the lake, which happened frequently, and they were very sudden. There was no warning to these storms. Now, the boat that Jesus and his disciples would have been in was a fishing boat, because most of his disciples were fishermen, so they used one of the fishing boats to go across the lake. And they didn't have motors or, Evinrude engines in those days. They used oars and they used sails, and so they could maneuver very well. So that's the setting of what's going on here. They get in the boat, they're on the way to the other side of the lake. And you guessed it, a storm comes up. Now, at this time, Jesus was asleep. He was tired from preaching to the people. So he was in the back of the boat. He was in the stern of the boat. He was fast asleep. Storm comes up, doesn't even wake him up. But the disciples are slightly panicked, and they're freaking out a little bit. So this is where our verse comes in. And once again, that's Matthew chapter 8, verses 26 and 27. And this is, the storm has come up, and so the disciples go to wake up Jesus. And Jesus, he replied, "You of little faith, why are you so afraid?" Then he got up and rebuked the wind and the waves, and it was completely calm. The men were amazed and asked, "What kind of man is this? Even the winds and the waves obey him." So we're going to go through that again. This is our memory verse. It starts at chapter 26, or verse 26, chapter 8. He replied, referring to Jesus. He replied, "You of little faith, why are you so afraid?" Then he got up and rebuked the wind and the waves, and it was completely calm. The men were amazed and asked, "What kind of man is this? Even the winds and the waves obey him." So one more time, one last time. Matthew chapter 8, verses 26 and 27. He replied, "You of little faith, why are you so afraid?" Then he got up and rebuked the wind and the waves, and it was completely calm. The men were amazed and asked, "What kind of man is this? Even the winds and the waves obey him." And I got to thinking, you know, when we have storms in our life, and we certainly have had a pretty crazy storm for the past 9 months or so, we can be calm and we can be at peace when we know that Jesus is with us and in our hearts. And I hope all of you hold on to that, because Jesus is peace. So I miss you guys. I love you and hope to see you very soon. Have a great day. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Mrs. Wellsmore, for that awesome story. Josh, aren't you even worried about the end of the show?
O ye of little faith. Make sure to turn in artwork and check out the Children's Ministry website.
Thanks for watching JJN this week.
Hey!
Wake up, Josh.